So Mark, did you see that video shared on Twitter? 1993, driving down I-15, Luxor under construction, your beloved pyramid that you're going to stay in hopefully later this year. Really cool to see this thing under construction, and always nice to see vintage Vegas videos surface.
Yeah, I feel like last week the comments were more positive and negative. It was definitely split, but I think it leaned more positive. So I think we're going ahead with Operation Pyramid. You know, the thing that blows my mind is how bad video was back then and how much better just our phones are. And if you told somebody in 93, like, hey, pretty soon you'll have a camera that's like 100 times better than this in your pocket. But it reminds me a lot of like watching the Sphere get built, as we've shown on the channel, and have it grow up. But it's crazy to see how vacant Vegas was even back just in the 90s, which doesn't feel that long ago.
One other thing you can see in this video is that some things never change on I-15. You see construction cones everywhere. So big news came this week. Durango, the newest casino, the next casino to open Las Vegas. This is off Durango in the 215 in the southwest. It is opening on November 20th, a very specific date because it is right after the Formula One race on November 18th. So clearly they want to get the media coverage out for Formula One, bring in their media coverage. Lorenzo Fertitta said basically everything's going to be open. They don't half open their properties or open them in stages, maybe taking a shot at, I don't know, some other casinos that opened a little early.
Yeah, I noticed that shade, and we're going to talk later about the most shade ever in Vegas history, pretty much, but yeah, I noticed that was kind of funny. Like, I know Circa opened, partially, but that was during COVID, so I think that they got kind of a pass there. But I do think it's a little bit strange. You think you'd still, I know you want the headlines, but you think you'd still want the Formula One prices to kick off your opening and, load up that hotel and get the overflow from people. But, that's the way they want to go, so I get it. They probably don't need the money right off the bat, but I would have. If it was me, wouldn't you try to open like a week or two before the races and then be like, hey, we're open for booking, $1,000 a night or whatever?
I would do a soft opening for Formula One in the week before and then do your grand opening on the 20th so that you get all the media coverage for that. But I think that's clearly what it is. They don't want to be overshadowed by the Formula One race. But this isn't a surprise. I mean, this has been like not a dramatic project at all. They finally announced it. I mean, I guess I should say that, but they announced this project 10, 12, 13 years ago. It fell through, announced it again, fell through. And then finally, since they've broken ground and started this, it's been all according to schedule. So it's good to see that all this time. The other thing that came out in Fertitta's call is that Inspirada is still moving forward and they're working on that. And Durango's phase 2 will depend on financial conditions, although they have that drawn up as well.
All I'm getting from this is AllNet Arena still has hope based off of this.
Yeah, I guess we're still holding out. Still holding out hope for AllNet. Because, I mean, we're the only ones doing that. Nobody else thinks that this is going to happen, so somebody's got to stand up for this beautiful project.
Yeah, I mean, it looks epic if they can just find like $47 billion or whatever they need to build it.
So more leaks are coming from Fontainebleau. Now, this company hasn't done a great job on social media of really promoting, building up the hype. I feel like there's a few social media accounts that are helping them out tremendously with these leaks, and us too, but we're getting another look inside. First, quote-unquote leaks. Who knows where they come from? We had those carpet leaks that came directly to us, but this is Las Vegas locally, looking inside the theater, and then there's another shot inside the building shared by somebody else. So it still looks attractive, and the more pictures we see, the more we're kind of seeing this vision come together. Very, very close to the concept art, I think.
Yeah, it looks good. It just looks further off than I would have expected. They were shooting for December, and we've heard anecdotally from the cab driver and stuff that the people are saying it's never going to get done, and this kind of leads me to believe that it's not going to get done this year, maybe early next year. And I know, finishing touches can come together pretty quickly, but it looks pretty bare unless they're going to open and take that shade hit and open in stages. The theater looks very far away. So I don't think that's going to be open by December.
Yeah, that theater does look very sort of sparse and empty. Maybe that's what Fertitta was alluding to in his comment, knowing that Fontainebleau is not going to all open at once. CES, of course, is in early January, and you would expect that that's sort of the date that they're looking to meet. They probably want to be open by CES, given that it's a convention hotel right there, but we still don't know. But yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought much about it, but that theater does look very, very far from being done.
They got to make it perfect for Chris Angel. He's coming.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's big and empty right now, so I think it already might be perfect.
Oh, Sean.
All right. So I don't know. A while back earlier in the summer, we talked about the Stranger Things pop-up store. We haven't covered, I don't think, since it opened. It opened, I don't know, a month or two ago, and finally saw some looks inside of it. This looks really neat. It's at the Showcase Mall on the South Strip. They have recreations of scenes from the movies, all kinds of stuff. They've done this in a few cities. It's kind of a pop-up store. All they say is that it's going to last through 2024, so we don't know exactly when it's going to close. But this place looks really cool and high quality considering it's a temporary venue.
It looks really cool, you know, and all immersive, like we've talked about Vegas going to, and it looks like it can fit right in at Area 15. I kind of expected it before I saw where it was placed that it would be there. I was thinking, when's the last time I've been in the Showcase Mall? It's been forever. There's nothing really to draw you in. So that's a big get for them, I think. You know, the final season's coming up, a lot of fans. I think it'll be popular and kind of get people into that area when it's overlooked at this point.
Why are you dissing M&M's and Coca-Cola? Come on, I mean, those are reasons to go in there. I mean, the thing is, those stores have been there forever, right? And so, yeah, it's good to get
once
stuff
you do it
new
once,
in there.
You're done.
You could also go to Ross. You know, Ross is also in the basement down there at Showcase Mall. So go pick up another shirt. I know, this is really good to see. I have a confession. I have not watched Stranger Things at all. I plan to. Now that we're going to the final season, I'll probably binge it. But I'm all 80s and nostalgia, and I have not watched this show. But I can't wait to do it when I can kind of binge it, and I'll get to that soon.
Yeah, it reminds you of the days where you could just ride bikes around to your friend's house in the neighborhood and nobody worried about you or arrested parents for allowing it to happen. So it definitely a more innocent time. So it's a good throwback. Great show. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the final season.
So Casino Royale may finally be going away. And we talked about this, right? They filed with the FAA to get an approval to build, a 690-foot tower, I believe. And that's been approved. According to Vital Vegas, he found the document where the FAA approved this. We talked previously on a show that the Outback Steakhouse had been given notice that they have to get out. I think it was within 90 days. So it seems like things are moving forward. We don't know any details other than the height of this. We don't know what brand they're doing. We don't know the concept. But this is a gaming license on the Las Vegas Strip. So now with approval, we may start seeing things announced. We may start seeing them move towards closure. My guess is that probably by the end of the year, Casino Royale goes away. But of course, in Vegas, everything's fluid. Anything could fall apart at any time. But this is another step and good to see. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, the really interesting thing I thought was they weren't taking any reservations for F1, which you think that, once again, we talked about opening with a bang. You think you'd want to close and take that money grab if you could. So I wonder if that, the closure's coming sooner than expected. That kind of blew my mind. At least maybe the hotel section starts to get demolished a little bit sooner than we would have thought, and the casino stays open. I don't know how that's going to play out, but I thought that was really strange. If you're going to close at the end of the year, wouldn't you push to get prime time spot for the race and everything? Grab what you could. I mean, I'm kind of surprised there.
I am too, just given the location. So as you say, it's probably because they're closing. I wish we would know more. They should give us something to hype it up, but hopefully they'll start going to the approval process. They got to go to the county. They got to do all of that. So that maybe we'll learn some more. We've talked about it kind of sucks to lose some of those smaller casinos on the Strip, more intimate, better values, things like that. But it's an interesting piece of land right next to Venetian, and I'm really interested, given the height of that tower, what they could possibly build there.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. And like I said before, I hope they incorporate Casino Royale some way. Like, Link brought in O'Shea's and had a little section. Just put a little section that has something cheap or fun to keep that going, even if you don't really want to be, if you're going for more luxury, you don't want to be tied to it so much. But I think it could still play a role there, and people will stop in just for nostalgia's sake and want to see what the new spot looks like.
So Jacob's Life in Vegas, he shared on Twitter that rates are $4.99 a night at Circus Circus for Formula One. And is that the bottom line? Do you think that's too much? Now we've seen those crazy prices at the more expensive hotels, $500. I just don't see the person who's going to spend, $2,000 on a Formula One ticket spending $500 a night to stay at Circus Circus. I think that's the disconnect. So maybe that's why their rates are lower, because, nobody wants to stay there. I don't know. But I guess that makes it more affordable. You can get at least $500 a night. Some weekends in Vegas outside of Formula One, prices are like that same level.
Yeah, I still can't bring myself to pay $500 to stay there.
Yeah,
I don't care what's going on.
Nobody can just do it, right? Circus Circus has that maximum that they can charge before people start really hating themselves for what they did. We've talked about how Cosmo is now being connected to Vdara and Bellagio, and there was a walkway that existed. It was very industrial before, and we shared concept art previously of what it was going to look like. Well, now the walkway between Vdara and Bellagio has reopened. Looks much better than it did before. The Cosmo walkway is still under construction, so that's not open yet. That will connect into this, but very much enclosed. Before it was kind of open air, nice glass, looks really nice, and a big improvement. And once Cosmo opens, it'll be a really nice way to join all these properties together.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the nicest walkways I've ever seen to get from one place to another. You know, the design's beautiful, glass everywhere. You don't have to go outside, so you're not getting hot in the summer, all that. And then once they open up the Cosmo one, I think that kind of positions Vdara in a great spot for anybody that wants to not be in a casino hotel, not be in the hustle bustle, but still wants easy access to two of the better ones. You know, you can stay there, get out of it, and still go. When you're ready, go down there pretty easily and get to where you need to go. So I think this is a good move by MGM, and you know, I assume the walkway to Cosmo is going to look just as awesome.
Yeah, this is a good reminder of how good of a location Vdara has. With these walkways now, you walk across the driveway to Aria, you're right there at their casino. You know, you walk across to Bellagio, you're right there, and then you'll be able to go to Cosmo all within a minute or two or a few minutes of walking. So it really puts you in the heart of all three of those properties, and it's obviously very nice. The rooms at Vdara need a little bit of updating. They're certainly dated, but also very nice. Great Bellagio fountain views too, if you can get them there. So yeah, good to see that. And I can't wait to see that Cosmo bridge open, further integration into MGM as we see them moving into MGM Rewards next year. Cosmo in a few years, we'll just always see it as an MGM property, whereas I feel like we still sort of see it as separate in our minds a little bit, but it's not.
Those are the three best properties at MGM. I think everybody would rank those three in some, you know, 1, 2, 3, and they could jumble it around a little bit. Cosmo, I think, would be number one for most, but the next two you kind of go, and this kind of positions that as like the spoke to that wheel and connects you to everything, where you could be kind of like staying in those three hotels at a fraction of the cost. So that's a neat little, you know, kind of a hidden gem, maybe a little bit.
All right, Mark, is this a thing? So I'm going through YouTube Shorts the other day, and this pops up. People sleeping in their van in Vegas casino parking lots. So I've heard of, obviously, you have RV parks, and you have people that sleep in Walmart parking lots and something like that. But this video was, we're at Mirage. We paid $30 to park in their parking garage, and now we're going to sleep in our van there. A way to, I guess, save on the hotel. And I guess I had just never thought of it or seen it. But do a lot of people do this? I wonder if people out there know. But I guess you pay the overnight parking fee, and at Mirage, they just left them alone to sleep in their van.
Hopefully they were there when the floods came through, so the van was down by the river. Chris Farley joke there. But no, yeah, I have a friend that actually did this they built the van, they constructed it, bought one of those like Econoline vans or whatever, and rehabbed it all and went on the road for like 6-8 months and just kind of lived out of the van, worked remote. So I think it is a big movement, and you see that some people rent like RVs. I had a buddy rent an RV and take it to Vegas and park in a parking lot just like that, and they stayed in the RV to save some money and then went out to California after that. So I think it's been around. It's becoming more popular. And if you have it, why wouldn't you go and save, $30 is way cheaper than anything, especially on the weekend, that you're going to get in Vegas. It's just a question of how safe do you feel. If you find the right spot, I think you'll be fine. Don't do street parking, I would say. Not in Vegas, I wouldn't.
Yeah, this van is all blacked out on the windows, so you can't see in it. And they were in the Mirage oversized parking lot, so I imagine that was pretty safe. So it's interesting. I just don't know how many people are doing it. I've obviously seen the van life stuff elsewhere, but there you go. There's a tip. And then if you do status matches and figure out free parking, then you don't even have to pay the $30. You can just like hop casino to casino and live in their parking lots. And I guess as long as you vary between enough casinos, they probably won't figure out who you are. They
just
won't
get
recognize
the Nevada license plate, and then you can park at the Strat forever.
There you go. There you go. All right, so our final story is the strangest story that maybe we've covered on all of these years of doing MTM Vegas, and that was a fight that happened at the Wynn nightclub, and apparently this high roller guest or this whale gets in a fight with a manager there, so he goes across the street to Resorts World, pays them a bunch of money, and then they start going to work on the screen on the side of the Resorts World building, and I'll let you take it from there. Basically, they're putting messages out there to troll the guy who works at Wynn.
Yeah, I mean... It's kind of funny. Like, my first thing was like, oh, wow, Resorts World's really getting into this, showing their feisty side and willing to fight for the business. And then you come to find that the guy threatened the Wynn executive's family and stuff and just seems like a terrible guy. And now it looks like a money grab, the second one. Like, the first one, okay, I could see you playing it up and trying to, draw attention to your property and say, hey, whales, look at what we can do for you, like these crazy things that others wouldn't do. But then the second one, when you call out the guy by name and you find out it was because he spent 50K at like a nightclub or something, it just seems super cheap and low rent. And it makes you not want, if you were a whale, you wouldn't want to go there because it just seems like catty and unprofessional. I don't know. It's really bizarre. I think the worst looker, the guy that looks the worst, is the Ben guy, and then Resorts World, and then Wynn, because they walked away from big money and held their ground. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's so much here. So the first one said Ben's house, right? So Ben is the customer. He goes to Resorts World. They put Ben's house up on the screen. Okay,
I thought that was funny,
there,
yeah.
rubbing it in. Yeah, it's all good. And then the next one, food stamps for Nico, who I'm assuming is the Wynn employee. And now it kind of gets nasty. And it's a question of like, where is the hierarchy of how you get something up on the screen? We saw at Circa when Circa opened, right? They have those signs that they'll bring out, and you can get custom signs made. And I believe we saw somebody with a 69 sign made, and you can do that. So I wonder, like, who is the person in charge of deciding what goes on the screen? And perhaps Resorts World needs to have a little bit more control over that, because as funny as this is, as you said, it actually was serious. According to Vital Vegas, Metro was involved, but this was a really nasty thing. And while that first message seemed a little playful, it clearly got mean, and Resorts World really doesn't need to be participating in this with their screen. So I have to think management isn't happy about this, whoever approved those messages.
Whoever the host was that is making the money off this guy is the one that approved it, I'm sure. But like the saltiness level is at an all-time high, and I kind of enjoy it, but I also feel cringeworthy about it. So it's a weird spot. Like, you don't know how to react to this. I think Wynn's the only one that comes out looking good. Like I said, they stood their ground. And they're like, you know what? We don't need your money, which is a rarity these days to see any business walk away from somebody that's spending, a couple $100,000 in a night. That's kind of crazy.
It absolutely is. And it's just a weird story. A lot of bad blood there and using technology to the worst. Now, of course, somebody has to up their game and get the Sphere to start putting up hateful messages and trolling people, because that's the next
Win.
level of all of this.
I would love it if Wynn put something on the Sphere. That would be like hilarious.
So let us know what you guys think about anything we discussed here, the craziness with the screens, Durango's opening date. We'll discuss it all down there in the comments. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll be back in just a couple days with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
Have a good week, everybody.